What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Brian Kostiw, and we have got a fantastic show in order for you tonight. I keep on saying this every time I start up a show now because it almost seems like I just have no consistency with getting things on. So I think from here on out, regardless of when I post a show, I'm just going to quit apologizing for things being out late. I'm going to try my best to get shows out to you, but obviously we got to just see how those things go. But we do have a great show tonight. I am really excited to talk about the NFL and maybe, maybe not necessarily the New England Patriots and how they're doing, but at least the grand scheme of the league and how things are going overall. In MLB news, we're going to talk about the MLB postseason and some of the things that have been absolutely electric there, like the Philadelphia Phillies, as well as the Boston Red Sox, who may be on the verge of acquiring their next head of baseball ops, and it may be a former player. So that'll be something we'll discuss. And then finally, we're going to talk about the Celtics as they gear up for their regular season. I'm really excited for all of it. And I am once again pleased to welcome back a special guest to the show. He's been on the show many times before. He's a good friend of mine, Josh Houle. Welcome back, man.
Hey, it's a pleasure to always come on the show, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad to have you back. How have you been? Like things with baseball at school? What's been up with you?
Yeah, so we finished fall ball season about 2 weeks ago at this point.
Yeah,
Kind of transferred over to our club hockey season here at Colby.
love
So
it.
it's been a grind. We're starting to hit the weight room now. Team lifts. They say it's off season, but we're always getting work in on the side. So
Yeah.
it's always fun getting better every day.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, just the fact that you're doing both of those things with the, being on the baseball team, doing this stuff with club hockey, it's just crazy having to be able to do all that. So I commend you for that. But
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you also being back on the show, though. So with that being said, let's get started. Let's talk about some NFL news. And like I said, it's not too exciting to talk about the Patriots right now, but it is something that needs to be addressed. And it's the fact that the Patriots just suck now. We are not in the age. It's not even, you're not even teetering the line of, oh, is the dynasty on its way out? Is it a new era? Nope. New era. They suck. It's at the point where you want to tear it completely down to the studs. They this past weekend fell to 1-5 against the now Las Vegas Raiders, and they're on a 3-game skid. They got crushed by the Dallas Cowboys, they got shut out by the Saints, and then they lose this tough one to the Raiders, who have struggled to score over 25 points the entire season. So, Mac Jones had his struggles in this game, but it was just more of the fact that the Raiders just had more talent overall and were able to exploit this team down the field. Josh, what did you make of this game and just what this means for the Patriots at this point in the season?
Yeah, I think the part that was hardest for me to watch from that game was we lost the second half to Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
And that Jimmy G, I think Garoppolo played fine in the first half against the Patriots. Like Josh McDaniels' game plan was to hold on to that ball as long as possible. I think the opening drive for the Raiders lasted a solid 9 minutes or something like that, similar. They just pounded the ball against the Patriots, and the defense really didn't make any adjustments. And then he came out with a back injury. Brian Hoyer goes in. I think it was like Hoyer's second play from scrimmage. He threw like a 60-yard pass to someone wide open in secondary coverage. And that's just been the Patriots like struggles all year. They always give up the big chunk plays. And it's just frustrating to see too, because you saw against Dallas, you saw against New Orleans, like you give up those chunk plays, it's going to eat you up over time. Sure, the 5-6 yard gains here and there, it'll wear down the defense, but the chunk plays is what's been killing the Patriots defense recently.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, especially in that Dallas game, when you go back and you talked about and you see as soon as Christian Gonzalez went down with his what we eventually learned to be a season-ending injury, the very next play they went out. I think it was Miles Bryant, CeeDee Lamb did, and they score a touchdown right after it. And there's just no way to stop the bleeding with this team because now, I mean, you lose arguably your best corner in Gonzalez, you lose your best defender in Judon for potentially the season. We don't really know yet. And, just other guys have just been, absolutely ravaged by the injury bug. It's just been a really tough look for this team this year. And unfortunately, just knowing the way that the Patriots operate, it doesn't seem like there's going to be too many reinforcements. I know they went out recently and just reacquired JC Jackson. I know, he kind of played so-so against the Raiders, but it's not like you're going to get like all these guys back. People are going to be out for the season, and it's not necessarily going to get better.
I think the biggest concern for me was based off of PFF grades. If your best defender in a game against the Raiders was Jabril Peppers,
Yeah.
that speaks to how your defense has been playing as of late.
Yeah. No, it's definitely tough to see. I mean, like it just doesn't give you a lot of faith going forward. I mean, you have the Buffalo Bills coming up this week, which unless you're playing in a hurricane like you were like 2 years ago when you went up there and Mac Jones only has to throw 3 passes, it's just the Bills have just had the Patriots number. So, I mean, it's just not even close.
Yeah, no, I think after Buffalo too, we have Miami again.
Yeah.
I think the worst part of this being a Patriots fan experience this year was the first 2 weeks, even though we lost, we still had hope because we played both Philadelphia and Miami very close. There were 1-score games decided by controversial calls at the end of the two.
Well,
we always oops, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
We always play the Jets close, especially when it's in Jersey. So that didn't really have much concern, but I think that Jets game should have been a sign for Patriots fans to realize how lackluster this offense has been for this team. It's been atrocious.
It's uninspiring. There's no spark. They can't push the ball downfield, Josh. It's as a fan, it's horrible to watch.
It's coming to the point they're openly booing Mac Jones on the field. And that's shoot your quarterback's confidence too.
No, I mean, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's just been really tough to see as a fan, like, just like, especially the open booing, just seeing the way that he's been treated. It's just, it's a really tough look. And I mean, you want to see Mac Jones do well, but at this point, it seems like his confidence is completely shaken. Like it doesn't look like he has anything left.
Right. And not to mention, like, you can't blame a specific part of the offense. It's not like, hey, our wide receivers are struggling. No. The offensive line's not giving Mac any time. I mean, yeah, Mac's making horrible passes. I'm not sure if he saw his interception against Las Vegas.
That was a very poor throw.
No one's getting open for him. The line's not giving him enough time. Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott are pretty much non-existent. I think
which it isn't even a testament to them. It's just a matter that's more just a testament to how bad the line is. I think if the Patriots had not even a good O-line, I'll just say if they had a functional O-line, then I think Ramondre and Zeke would be much more effective. But, you have Riley Reif, you have all these guys that you're, basically signing off the scrap heap. It's not going to be enough to, no matter how good Ramondre Stevenson is, and he's a very good running back, he's not going to be able to withstand all of that if he has nobody protecting him.
Especially if he's going against some of the most elite defensive lines in the game right now.
No, 100%. And yeah, like you said, like to start the season, you had after the first 2 weeks, I was like, you know what, we dropped those 2 games, but you felt good because the Eagles just came off losing the Super Bowl to the Chiefs, and they played like they could have won that game. So it was like, you know what, you lost to the NFC champs, you played them well, not too shabby. And Mac actually played pretty decent in that game, and then in the Dolphins game too. Yeah, although you lost to them, what was the final score of that game? It was 24-17. Yeah, like you kind of felt like, oh, like they didn't really perform up to standards in that game. But the very next game, I'm pretty sure the Dolphins went out and they scored 70 points against the Broncos. And albeit it's the Broncos, but to have a historic scoring output like that, and the previous week you were held to 24 points. As a Patriots fan, you kind of felt good about yourself, and it was like, wow, we were able to shut down like that whole operation that they have going right now. But as you get further down the road and you look at it, you had the game against the Jets, you had the win where the Pharaoh Brown career legacy game touchdown, and it's just been all downhill since then. So there's been really no positivity coming out of it, and I don't really know what's next at this point for this team. Like, people have talked about Bill Belichick being on the hot seat, whether he would even get the boot during the season. I just don't see it happening. I mean, I think that at the very least, if Bill Belichick was to, finish his career in New England, if this was it, I feel like he will at least get the grace of finishing the season out, like as the coach, as the GM. And then during the offseason, Kraft would come up to him and say, hey, we're not going to have you back. And he'd get to walk off into the sunset like that. I don't think that, regardless of how poor the season has been this year, I don't think for all Bill's done, he would just get, thrown to the side so haphazardly.
No, I agree with that. Definitely. Bill Belichick's just done too much for the New England Patriots fan base over the years to just be fired in the middle of the season. Honestly, I think Patriots fans would be more mad at the organization than they would be at Bill if that were to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it it's just and I listen, I have to give Bill credit for all he's done here. Like some people talk about like Tom Brady being responsible for all the Super Bowl rings, which I mean, listen, you're the quarterback of the team, you're the leader. Of course, he's going to be responsible for a great majority of the success that they had. But I can at least chalk up probably, two, if not three of the Super Bowls to being, to being games that Bill won, especially the last Super Bowl. That, in my opinion, was Bill's defining moment, probably as the Patriots head coach, being able to shut down that LA Rams offense, hold them to 3 points. And, on the flip side, even though your team was only getting 13 points, you had probably one of your best defensive, games ever as probably the Patriots head coach, being able to shut that down on the largest stage.
No, yeah, definitely. Not only that, but like the one of the unsung heroes I think was the game plan for that game was Edelman with I don't know
Yeah.
how many yards off the top of my head, but they found the game plan that they knew that big play wasn't going to be available, so they used Edelman to get all those yardage out of it, and
Yeah.
then they were able to make the plays that they needed to. I think it was a coaching masterclass.
Yeah, I mean, no, exactly. And I know in the end, Brady found Gronkowski down the sideline for that fantastic grab, and he was able to get that. But for a good majority of that game, Tom Brady struggled, and he didn't look like himself. And in my opinion, had I not known what was going to happen with Brady in the end, like had I not, I didn't think he would ever go to Tampa. I didn't think he would win another ring, do any of this stuff. So in my opinion, at the time, it was like, oh, Belichick put Brady in position to win it at the beginning. Obviously Tom did what he did. And then at the end, as Brady, in my opinion, what I thought happened, walked into the sunset, Bill had enough to get him over for that sixth ring, and they walk off and they're all happy. Obviously that isn't what happened, but that's what I originally thought was going to go down when Brady won that sixth ring. That's kind of how I felt about it at the time. So, but now you look back on it and you have to question whether it was the right decision to let Tom Brady go, or whether Bill Belichick should have gotten the boot after the 2019 season, because Tom Brady proved that he still had enough left in the tank, and it's questionable whether Belichick had any after Brady left.
Yeah, I think every loss this year just helps cement that narrative
Mhm.
that Belichick didn't win the rings. Brady is the reason why the Patriots won.
Yeah.
And it's it's hard to say whether what the case is because it's always could be a perfect storm kind of combination. You see players that only do well on one team, and then as soon as they leave, they go from superstar status to like third string.
Yeah.
So you never know if like the perfect coach found the perfect player. It's just it's a weird narrative of the oh Brady is the reason why Belichick won. It's a weird situation because also Brady was also put into the perfect team in Tampa Bay. If you were to give him say a normal Tampa Bay roster, is he doing the same thing? They built the super team around Brady with those signings over time.
Yeah. No, I mean, I tend to agree with you. I mean, like, uh, by the time Brady got to Tampa, he actually got a legit squad around him with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and it was something that he had been lacking in New England for a while. I mean, I'll give, Julian Edelman, Robert Gronkowski all the credit that they had, but it had been a while since Brady had talent that deep, or all like surrounding him, because you had like, I think multiple running backs with Leonard Fournette and, I think it was Ronald Jones. He had the wideouts, he had the tight ends with Gronk, and then Cam Brate. So like you had just all like these different guys that were able to work out well for him. And it was you never really had that depth up in New England. You would have like those star guys that could make some plays, but never really those guys that could stretch the ball down the field like Mike Evans and Godwin could. So that was always the struggle with Brady here. But yeah, like now as we look with this Patriots team, the problem still present himself, but you don't have number 12 back there to help you out going forward. And you have to figure out like, what is the path forward from here? If, Josh, if you were in charge of the Patriots right now, would you say this is it for Mac Jones, or would you try to, find a way to revive it, fix something going forward, or what's your game plan here?
Yeah, so obviously the Patriots' upcoming schedule, it's going to be tough with Buffalo and Miami back to back. And a lot of people are starting to clamor, oh, the Patriots are about to start 1-7. When's the last time that happened, if it ever has, something that bad? And it really sucks for Mac Jones, too, because I believe it's after the third year whether teams will want to choose that fifth-year option for their rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right now, Mac Jones is not proving that he should earn that fifth-year option. Everyone saw him year one. They had that faith in him. Year 2, okay, maybe it was a fluke. He didn't have the right coaches. He had Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, and I saw them wreck his confidence on live television. Just you've seen how many times he was frustrated with the play calling. They fixed that issue for him this year with Bill O'Brien, someone he worked with well at Alabama, someone that he clicked with, someone who knows what they're doing on offense. He still can't find the answer. Honestly, I think he's playing worse this year than he did last. He started off really well against Philadelphia. He gave New England hope that maybe it was that rookie campaign that everyone thought. But right now, it's just taken so many regressions. I think in the past 3 weeks, he's thrown a total of, I think, 5 or 6 interceptions.
Yeah, he's been broken. Is
third rate. Yeah. I think it was 2 against New Orleans, 2 against Dallas, 1 against Las Vegas.
Well, what I think we saw, Josh, was at the beginning of the season, like, I think Mac had it in his head, like, all right, it was totally Matt Patricia. It was totally just Joe Judge and those guys messing me up. I'm going in, I'm feeling fresh. And I think he, didn't feel a ton of that pressure. And he performed like he did during his rookie season when he didn't have all of those stressors and things going on with him. And as soon as he had a little bit of adversity, it was kind of a regression where he went back into the Mac Jones of last year where, he's making all these poor throws. He can't, he's, his footwork is all off. And I think that's just what we're seeing more than anything is he just regressed back to that struggling state that he was in. And that's what's frustrating to see with it.
No, I agree with you 100%. I remember his rookie year. I was talking to my friends who are all New England fans, were like, okay, he's got potential to do something great with this team. And I saw some of the moves we made free agency for his second year, and it was moves to help Mac. Mm-hmm. But then the coaching, I think the one thing that killed Mac Jones's career as of right now is that injury against the Ravens.
Yeah.
Before he got that sprained ankle, like he was the first 2 games and a half, like I think we were 1-1 going into that Ravens game. He balled out against the Ravens until he got hurt. Like he had a rushing touchdown, 2 passing touchdowns. He did have 1 fumble, but it was a really good play by Kyle Hamilton, I think, that stripped him.
Yeah.
But he was doing fine at the beginning of his second season. Like people were still on the hype train for him. As soon as he came back from that injury, I think it was the Monday night game against the Bears. That's the game that's killed his confidence ever since, when fans were calling for Bailey Zappi again.
Well, and the problem with it is I don't want to do revisionist history. Mac did have at least some struggles to start that season as well, but it wasn't as bad as how it ended. And I think the issue with the whole Bailey Zappi thing, are we going to go to Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi? Because the way that conversation started was because Mac Jones did have some struggles before his injury. That is just how it happened. And, people were thinking, oh, is Bailey Zappi going to be the next Tom Brady? He was performing so well and everyone was getting on the hype train. And I think that Belichick, he either should have just started Mac Jones regardless in the Bears game, or he should have just waited and said, all right, we're going to get you healthy for the Jets. We're going to play you in the conference game and, have you worry about that. We'll have Bailey start we'll have Bailey start on the short week and do all that. So I don't know why Bill, because I don't think Mac Jones was 100% in for that Monday night game. So I think they should have just said, like, all right, Mac, like, you're going to sit this one out still. Like, you'll be good for the Jets and just be ready for that. And I think putting him out there and having to do all like the, having to do basically tag with quarterbacks, it was never going to work out well.
Right. I think another big factor, I'm not sure the percent credibility on this, but a lot of things I've been hearing is like his teammates don't like him that much, because we all understand there's been a few plays in Mac Jones' career that's been a little controversial.
Yeah.
The one that off the top of my head was the one in the Bears, that Monday night game. Javon Brisker's, like, it seemed like Mac kicked him pretty hard in a sensitive area. Yeah. And Mac's been caught doing that 5 or 6 times already in his young career. And a lot of players don't want to back up a QB if they're going to pull moves like that. So is it also an issue in the locker room with his performance that he doesn't have that trust with his teammates?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, something else I've seen people kind of complain about is his post-game press conferences where he, after the team's 1-5, he's still going up there and having the same, monotone, in a similar light to Bill Belichick of just like, yeah, we got to improve all sides of the ball. Got to just be better. Like just talking very emotionless, where people are saying like, oh, you're 1-5. Like you want to almost see him be upset and be like, hey, I sucked out there today. I got to be better. Like all this stuff, but it just hasn't shown. And I think the reason you haven't seen that is because I think Bill Belichick probably scared any emotion out of Mac Jones, because when he first got here, he was very happy-go-lucky. He was talking about all these different things, and it went from 100 to 0 like that. So that I think that's kind of what happened there.
No, I agree with that 100%.
But
I remember night he was drafted, 100% energy, and then you just see it drained over the years too.
yeah, and listen, I think that going forward, I don't necessarily know if the Patriots want to go in and, go for a quarterback in this draft. But listen, if they get the number 1 pick and it's Caleb Williams sitting there, I mean, how can you turn that down? He's, potentially, he might be one of the best quarterbacks in the world already right now, and he's not even in the NFL. So that'd be a tough thing to turn down. But if it's not Caleb Williams, I'm not sold on a lot of these other guys like Drake May, Bo Nix. Like I've seen some of Drake May's highlights at UNC. I haven't been able to give him a full breakdown, but a lot of what I see from his game and what he does well is being able to get out of tough situations, like the pocket's closing around him and he can kind of maneuver his body in a way. And, maybe he's getting hit and he like kind of is able to chuck the ball to a receiver. And those are all great plays for college football. And I know the college game is adapting more and more to the NFL product, and it's starting to look even more like it. But there are still some things that I'm like, that only can fly in college football. If you're getting, hit like that and you just toss the ball up to a receiver, chances are that ball's getting picked off and going the other way for 6 points. So I've even heard people around here. I mean, it's bad in New England when you're just walking around a New England campus and you just hear people going, oh, I don't want Drake May, just out of the just in conversation. So yeah, I just don't know how I feel about like Drake May. Bo Nix he's been in college for like 7 years now. You have all these guys. I just don't know how I feel about a guy like that. And I even have some concerns about Caleb Williams. Some reports are saying that he wants to have ownership of whatever team drafts him, and he wants to like do all these things, and he's a lion. He doesn't want to play with sheep. So I don't really know what he's getting himself into. And, even if that's really the type of character that you want in the building. So, I mean, but listen, if Caleb Williams is there, you're the number 1 pick. I think it's a tough thing to turn down, but any of these other guys at the QB position, I'm not really sold on.
No, I think what a lot of people don't think about is that the college stats don't mean anything, especially when it comes to like the receiving rules, because college you only need 1 foot to be in bounds. That means you can put that ball a little bit extra farther out for the receivers to get. Like a lot of people don't think like a foot or 2 is that much for the catch.
Yeah, but I mean, Josh, like I tend to agree with that, and like obviously, like a lot of people know about like the 1 foot rule with college, but it's not even those plays of like receivers bailing him out with like great catches. I've literally seen a play where I'd have to look it back up on his highlights, but he's getting sacked. He's like going to the ground, and he like, for anyone who could see it on video, he takes his arm and like just like kind of just like shovel passes it to a receiver that was like wide open, like in the flat. Any other time, like that's probably getting either just going incomplete, or that's either a fumble or a pick six by the defense. It was just a bad play, but it was in his highlight mix. And there are just some plays where I don't know if he's gonna be able to feel the pressure as well at the NFL level, because I think he's too used to maybe the protection he's getting from his ACC O line.
Yeah, I see what you mean now. Yeah,
but that's my thoughts on a guy like on Drake May. I have to really give Bo Nix and some of these other guys a little bit more of a look, but those are some of my concerns with them right now. But Josh, another thing that you had mentioned with the Patriots was Adam Butler. You want to give some you want to provide some light on that?
Yes, one thing I found really interesting after the loss against Las Vegas was like a quote from Adam Butler, ex-Patriot player, mentioning to Bill Belichick. He didn't acknowledge him in like the post-game shakes. He's like, I don't care if he said if I played well. I don't care if he said I didn't play well. I don't care if he called me ugly. He just didn't acknowledge me, and I find that super disrespectful. And I was just wondering, what do we what did you want? You beat your former coach. That should be satisfying enough to
Yeah.
you.
And I mean, listen, I understand in the league now, it's considered customary to do all like these jersey swaps, meet up at half field, have like these whole discussions. Now, I don't know if Bill Belichick, if like Butler like went up to Belichick and was like, "Hey coach, how's it going?" and Belichick just blew him off, or if like coach or if he's just like, "Oh yeah, the coach, he just didn't go out of his like way to find me." And I'm like, "Okay, man, but Jimmy G also plays for the Raiders. All the Jacoby Myers is on the Raiders. Like I don't know if like I mean, I remember Adam Butler being here and him having some success, but I'm like, I don't know if you have like the cachet to say like, oh, how come coach didn't recognize me? Like you were a great player, Adam, but like not to that level. I just don't think that you need Coach Belichick to come over there and talk to you.
No, I agree with you. It's normally what I hear with coaches is that you gotta find the other coach, you get that customary handshake. But if you expect the coach to go through like all 53 guys plus on the field now because it's post game to find you in a sea of heads when everyone average height in the NFL is like what 6'5" or something.
Yeah, no,
It's gonna be
no, people switch teams every single year. Like you're gonna play against coaches. You're gonna basically play against a former teammate or a former coach every single week if you've been in the league more than a year. Like that
exactly.
that's just how the league works. Like there's just that much movement that there's always going to be some guy that's on a new team. Like you're always going to be like, "Oh, I played with you my first year. Oh, I played with you when I got traded to this city and when I did this and blah blah blah." Or oh, we met at the combine or at the Pro Bowl. Or you're always going to see someone you know. It's just tough like in this league. Like you can't just say hey to everybody. So I can't really. I've given Coach Belichick a lot of blame for things this season. I can't give him blame for that. I honestly just think that was stupid on Adam Butler's part.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that's Belichick's fault at all.
No,
I thought it was
exactly.
an interesting quote. When I'm reading that, I was like, oh,
Yeah,
come on.
yeah. I thought that was just stupid. But I think that's kind of what we have in store for the NFL portion of the show. I do want to switch things over to the MLB because there are a couple things I want to hit on. We'll talk about the MLB postseason after this, but at least involving the Boston Red Sox, there has been some news this offseason around the future of the organization and where they're going to go in terms of their baseball operations. Now, it came out a couple of days ago that the Red Sox were really struggling to basically find a replacement. Like they had talked to some high level executives and tried to get some people in on it, and no one was really biting on it and really biting on taking the job, which surprised a lot of people because it's probably considered to be like one of the best open positions in baseball right now. If you were to think about Boston in terms of the city, the assets you have available to you, and what you could potentially do there, but I can't really blame a lot of people from turning it down because the pattern lately has been that there's no job security with this title where you're in it for maybe 4 or 5 years at the most, and then you get canned. Like, just to go back, I mean, Theo Epstein had it for a good stretch from, what was it, like 04 or 03 to 2011. So he had it for a good little bit, but then it went to Ben Sherrington, and then it was Dave Dombrowski, and then it was Heim Bloom, and now it's going to be whoever's the next guy. And it's just been flip-flopping every single year. There's been just no consistency with it. So I can't really blame a lot of people for, not really wanting it, because even if you go out and you win a world championship like Sherrington and Dombrowski did, there's still no, security that, especially for Dombrowski, a year later, he was out the door.
Yeah,
It's just like, if you're not performing and we don't like the way the organization's going, you're out, man.
yeah. It definitely shocked me, especially hearing about Dombrowski a year later. It's
Yeah.
like I get there were like high expectations, but just because you didn't win it the year after you win it doesn't mean you get out.
No,
And
especially with all the talent you still had left, Mookie Betts, Chris Sale, all these guys, they were still there and performing. But I mean, you're coming off, you won 119 games the season prior. You think that's probably not, I mean, it's only reasonable to think that you're going to have you're just not going to be able to reach those expectations in year two. I mean, I think they finished with only 84 wins, which isn't great, but just to turn around that next offseason and completely blow it up the way they did with sending Mookie Betts out the door and turning away David Price and getting rid of all these guys. it left a sour taste in everyone's mouth because you still felt that core had a lot left in him, and we even saw that with the 2021 team getting to Game 6 of the ALCS, where those weren't really Heim Bloom guys. That was just holdovers from the 2018 team.
Right. And you wonder if we held on to those pieces, if it was back to that core that we had. I think they could have made a run that year.
Yeah, I mean, if you put Mookie Betts on that 2021 Red Sox team, they most likely make it to that World Series, in my opinion. Now, at the time, I would have thought that they could have beaten that Braves team. Looking back on it, the Braves were really solid that year, so I can't really get behind that 100%. But I'm just not I just think that you could have held on a little bit longer. But it does look like at least the Red Sox are making some progress on finding a head of baseball ops. Craig Breslow, which is a name I have not heard in maybe 13 years, is getting back into the mix in Boston potentially. He's been with the Cubs organization for a while, and for those of you who do not know who Craig Breslow is, he was a left-handed relief pitcher here for a couple of seasons. He won the World Series with us in 2013. And to see him get back in the mix surprised me because I didn't think that he would that a guy like him would even be near baseball anymore. I didn't really know what his history was, but turns out that he's from Yale. He has a good, just a good overall background, and could probably provide a good mix of analytics and traditional baseball scouting.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with you. One thing I've noticed a lot of teams, I'm not sure if it's been translating in baseball, but I might go on a quick tangent here. A lot of teams in the NHL, like the Bruins, they're hiring a lot of past players to fill their managerial roles. Like, if you look at the director of scouting, Adam McQuaid, who was on the Cup winning team in 2011, Chris Kelly, he also won in 2011. He's the assistant coach now with the Bruins, and so many of their former players are in managerial roles. And you look at how the Bruins succeeded last year, and you wonder what kind of role like those past players have on that. Like, are they giving experience to something that helped contribute to that success? Because the Bruins had no expectations to do what they did last year.
Yeah,
65 NHL records in points and wins. So I'm wondering if you would hire like a former player for the Red Sox with Breslow. I wonder if you can find something close to that.
Yeah, and part of me also wonders whether, I think that Breslow he'll have a better connection with the players than Heim did because Heim really didn't have any baseball experience. He, wasn't a player, didn't really have that kind of connection. I think that if you were to bring in a guy like Breslow, he could relate to some of the players, even though he's been out of the league for a couple of years. And, he knows what it takes to win here and win a World Series. Not just from, being on the team, but that 2013 Red Sox team, they made a pretty pivotal deal to help them get over the hump. And that was acquiring Jake Peavy from the White Sox. And they had to send off Jose Iglesias. They had to send off some other prospects to make it work. But so he's seen on that end what it takes to, put a team over the top, take it to the next level. So maybe he's able to give that some perspective. And then the other thing as well is, if you bring in a former player like that, this is his first gig in a big city. I could also see him just being I don't like the way I'm going to put it, but I don't want to say a puppet, but just like a placeholder for just whatever John Henry wants to do. So if history it was to repeat itself, where the Red Sox don't spend as much money and then they start to struggle, I could see it where John Henry just says, you know what, you guys want Shohei Ohtani? You want me to get all these players? Fine, I'll shell out all this money. I'm going to put a guy like Craig Breslow in. It's his first time, but I'm going to guide him and say, all right, this is how we're going to get this guy. This is how we're going to get this player and build it all from there. So I could see that being the case as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely. I hope that Breslow like forms that connection with the players. Cause I think under Bloom, players weren't faces. They were numbers.
Yeah.
And that's, again, I think we mentioned this a couple times, just the whole Moneyball aspect that he tried to bring to Boston.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a reason why that just doesn't work at that big level. Like, it can win you regular season games. It can, get you to the playoffs, but by the time you get to that point, it's a completely different animal. And unfortunately, the Red Sox didn't even have a good enough Moneyball strategy to get them that far. Like that's the disappointing thing. It's not like, oh yeah, it's like getting you into the first round and having these exits like the Rays did all these years. and like all these other teams did, it's not even getting you to the playoffs. So even the strategy of even the initial strategy of Moneyball isn't paying off for you. So that's been frustrating none the least. The other thing I'm excited about for Breslow as well is the fact that he was a pitcher here, and maybe he has some maybe he could at least have a little bit more of some expertise when it comes to recruiting pitching, because the Red Sox have had some great prospects in the past couple of years, but they have struggled to bring up pitchers, and it's just been an absolute it's like, I mean, they have Brian Bayo who came up now, but before him, like the last big probably pitching prospect to make his debut for the Red Sox was like Clay Buchholz to John Lester. Like that's how far back you have to go before you can think of a really quality pitcher that the Red Sox, brought up on their own.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue for the Red Sox is like our starting rotation is mediocre. Like, don't get me wrong, it's nothing spectacular. Our biggest issue though, bullpen, 1000%. Like, if you look at how many games were lost or won by the bullpen, I think for every win the bullpen got, they gave up 3 losses.
Yeah.
And the pitching development within the bullpen has just been atrocious. You'll go into a 1-run game in the 6th inning, and all of a sudden you're checking your phone on ESPN. The Red Sox gave up 3-4 runs in the 7th, and it's just frustrating night after night.
No, yeah, I tend to agree with you. It was really tough to watch as a fan, and I'm hoping that Breslow can come in and maybe not even just be like a scout of talent and looking at pitching, but he can almost. I'm not saying I want him on the field coaching players, but he at least knows what it takes for a guy like that for a guy to be successful at that level. Not that Craig Breslow was like this, like, star level pitcher, but he was a good arm. He was a good piece to that bullpen. You could trust him when he came into games. So, yeah,
he was reliable.
Yeah. But I look at it going forward, and I do like the move if they were to bring in Breslow. I mean, at least from right now, from what I know about him, I think that he could be a good addition to the team. But yeah, I don't mind that. So that's what we have, at least in terms of the Red Sox. But at the other part of the MLB news that I wanted to talk about was just the MLB postseason as a whole. It has been an electric postseason, especially in one place in particular, that being Philadelphia. Man, I really want to go to a game there, Josh. It looks awesome there at those games, and it sucks because there's you see a guy like Kyle Schwarber there, and it's like, yeah, we had that for a little bit. That felt pretty good when he was on our team, but no more.
No more, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's just like that place is rocking every single night. And the home field advantage is absolutely real there, because I just don't know if you're how an opponent, like, you can go into that stadium and even think.
No, yeah, I think they set a record. It was like 111 decibels. I'm not sure if it was the LCS or the NLDS, but like a lot of people don't understand how loud 111 decibels is.
Yeah.
Just it was probably something like very similar to like a full-on raving rock concert or something like that. And that was for 3 hours. Like, a Philly crowd does not die down. And just the support the Phillies have been getting by their fans has just been unimaginable.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you saw this, but the Philly fans are actually buying seats in Arizona and not going.
Yeah.
So it's empty.
Yeah. They're that dedicated that they would rather waste their own money and buy tickets so that way other fans can't go, which is kind of scummy. I can't lie. Like, that kind of does suck, but I mean, you got to at least respect the dedication. That's kind of unreal. I looked it up. Like, the decibel world record is still held by the Kansas City Chiefs, who set it at 142 decibels. But I mean, for a baseball stadium in the middle of October to get that kind of a reaction, you've got to give that some props.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I feel like with a Kansas City Chiefs game, it's easier for a crowd to react and get louder too, because it's that constantly moving game.
Where and there's also just more people too. I mean, like, you have like maybe, I don't know,
30,000 people. Something
in a football stadium it might be close to even like 50, but like in baseball, baseball's it might be like 30, 35, like something like that. So you got to give, like, the fact that they were able to get as loud as they were is incredible.
Right. To get 70% of like NFL decibel range with only half the capacity of the crowd.
Yeah.
if you imagine what's like on a full setting,
Oh
that
my
would be absurd.
God.
What the reading would be.
Those fans are vicious though. I mean, just every single home run, it just seems like they get louder. Like Bryce Harper, when he had the two just the other night, him hitting one on his 31st birthday and then blowing out the candles as he crosses home plate. Nick Castellanos still hitting home runs at bad times, like when Charlie Manuel is, recovering from a stroke and they're doing a little package on that. It's unreal the fact that he still hits home runs at these times. I can't believe it.
It's it's so scary though. Like how many I believe it's the Philadelphia Phillies have hit more home runs than the amount of runs they've allowed the entire postseason. I think they've
Jeez.
given up 16 runs and they've hit 19 of them.
Oh my God.
That's absurd. When you want to talk about the long ball and how many games did they play? 19 home runs in about 8 games.
Well, I'm
That's
and yeah,
two a game.
and I mean to talk about Schwarber too. He now has more. I believe I believe it came out. He has more leadoff home runs than any other player in postseason history.
And it's just so weird because that guy, he's everyone sees him like a 4-5-6 hitter the way he just swings the bat. But
Yeah,
when you remind yourself he's your leadoff hitter, that
yeah,
makes that Phillies lineup so much scarier.
yeah. They're so deadly to play. And I mean, I think that they deserve to probably go on and win the World Series this year. I really don't want to see the Astros come back in this series against the Rangers. It would have been a cool story to see Max Scherzer go out there and shove, but he just got lit up by that team. Like Jose Altuve tagged him on that ball for that homer, and yeah, I'm nervous because I feel like the Astros could very easily get back in this series with just like the inexperience that the Rangers have. So I'm hoping that the Rangers could put things away, but I'm not that easy. Not
I do have to give the Rangers props though. Like starting at the beginning of the year, what they've done,
Yeah.
the Rangers have been basement dwellers for the past 5-6 years.
Oh yeah.
It's been since they've had a good postseason run, and now they're fighting for a chance to go to a World Series. Like it's fun. It's been fun watching that team all year this year. Like I gotta commend them for the run that they had to go through some tough teams in the postseason.
Yeah.
Rays, I get it. They were playing. The Rays are always technically known as the new Moneyball team, always that first round kind of exit scenario. But not only did they sweep the Rays, by the way, the Rays played horrible in that series. I think they had a total of 8 errors in 2 games.
Yeah, they were
But
awful.
they also swept the Orioles. The Orioles were one of the best teams in baseball this year, and they handled them pretty well. So if they're able to beat the Astros, that would be a fun series to see where it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I would tend to think that from what I've seen right now, the Phillies have the most to probably go back and do it. I mean, listen, the Astros, I think that they have enough to get back in the series, and only being behind one game from tying it, I think it's more than possible. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see how that thing goes. But man, I've been loving just seeing the energy out in Philly. It's been awesome.
It's been great, and it's
Yeah.
kind of funny because the Diamondbacks, their pitcher Merrill Kelly, before his start in Game 2 the other night, he was asked about the fan noise in Philly. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I played for USA in the World Baseball Classic. This will just be like in Miami against Venezuela."
Oh Jesus. Was he
Feels
wrong? No.
Trey Turner heard it. He's like, "Watch, like we'll see how you do." First at bat, Trey Turner took him yard, and the
Bomb.
crowd just went nuts.
Yeah.
It's just playoff atmospheres really factor into a team's performance.
Yeah. I mean, Merrill Kelly wants to talk about how he did in the World Baseball Classic. I mean, go back to that championship game. He didn't pitch too well in that now. So, I mean, I don't know where he's getting off at.
I know I don't know. It's definitely gonna be watching these 4 teams duke it out the last couple games before we have a World Series matchup. It's gonna be a bloodbath. I
Yeah.
hope the Diamondbacks can win a game, so it's not
Yeah.
a full sweep. Like I get it. No one expected the Diamondbacks to do what they did this year either. But hey, if they're able to come back against Philly, like I'll tip my cap towards them. Like they
Yeah.
put on a good season this year, a lot better than people thought. But
Mhm.
you're running into like the mouth of a lion at this
Yeah.
point.
They're an absolute buzzsaw of a team. So that's very tough to defend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But now, as we kind of close out the show, I want to do a little NBA minute. The Boston Celtics are, about to tip off their season. Some major new additions to the squad this year. I've mentioned it, like Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday joining the team. And they've been looking really solid in preseason so far. And it appears that they're going to go with a lineup of Derek White. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Porzingis, and you'll have Al Horford coming off the bench. So they're because they had originally tinkered with having two bigs out there, but it looks like they're going to go with Porzingis being the big and have him down low. And so far, he looks like he's been able to handle himself. I know injuries are obviously the concern when it comes to Kristaps Porzingis, but he at least looks like he is moving pretty comfortably out there. And I'd have to think with all the talent he has around him and not being like the focal point of like an offensive game plan or at least a defensive game plan for another team, you'd like to think that he might be able to avoid some injuries at least this year and, be a really good and have some really good production for this group.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think for Porzingis this year, this is the most defensively round team he's played for.
Mm-hmm.
I think that without the pressure of him like having to block every single shot or like play lights out defense every single night, like it's going to put less stress on his body as the time goes on. I think he'll be able to stay away from the injury bug this year, and that's what I'm hoping for. Because say God forsaken, he does get hurt, like he's got a deep bench to help play defense. Like Al Horford's more than a capable replacement for him, which is good.
Yeah. So, which is crazy because Al's like 95 years old. So, every year, every year though, I feel like people are saying like, we can get one more year out of Al. We can get one more year, and I'm like, hey man, I think this is probably the last like full Al Horford year that you're going to be able to get out of him. Because after this, like, I just don't think that you can see the production like continue for that much longer.
How old even is he now? He's got,
I think he's like 37.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I'll double check. I think he's 36 right now, but I think he's gonna be. Yeah, no, he's 37. He turned 37 in June. So, by the time the NBA playoffs roll around, like this year, he'll be 38 years old.
Yeah, that's getting close.
He's only a year younger than LeBron.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't realize. That he's only a year away from LeBron.
Yeah. No, LeBron's older than him.
No, I know by the year.
Yeah, but it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully the magic of Al Horford helps the Celtics. I think for the Celtics, this has to be their year. Like they went out, made these big moves. It's all or nothing for them, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a big free agency period coming up for them. Am I right?
Well, I mean, you lock down Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. I think that they'll take care of whatever is going on with him. Holiday, I believe, is working on an extension with the team, and I know Porzingis is in for another 2 years after this. But I would say it's a now or never thing because those other small guys like Al are gonna probably be up. I don't know if Derek White is gonna have a contract coming up. So, but there will be little pieces that are gonna start to leave the organization, things like that. So I think that this is the year that you have to go out and at least show that you can win it. I mean, if you can, go out and win it this year, because I think this team could get multiple championships with the way that they're built, but you got to at least go out and get the one. And I think it's got to be this year.
Right. Because I think is Pritchard due for an extension too?
Pritchard got an extension.
Oh, he did. Okay. I didn't fall.
Yep. So, he just got an extension. He balled out in his first game after. He had like 30 points.
That's good. That's one of the pieces we needed. So.
Albeit it was a preseason game, and I really don't even know how much we're going to see Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench this year. But yeah,
I'm waiting for the day he gets that shot to be the big guy on, because he's got stuff.
I would never say that Peyton Pritchard would be the big guy somewhere. That's the only thing I'll say there.
That's true.
Because he's never going to really be the big guy somewhere. But I know what you mean, where he could get some consistent minutes. I don't know if that's ever really going to be in Boston, if I'd be honest with you. I think that he would most likely have to go to somewhere else to prove himself.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited to see the Celtics bring this year.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I have some concerns about their size. After trading away Rob Williams, I know he had some injury concerns of his own. So, I mean, you have Porzingis, you have Al. I think that you can make it work and you'll have the size down low, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to see how it all pans out. But Josh, you got any final thoughts before we go down to the wire?
I am out of thoughts.
All righty. Sounds like a plan then. Then we are officially down to the wire, which means that we're going to wrap up what we talked about today on this show and send you guys on your way. But first, if you're not following Down to the Wire at this point, make sure you go follow us on our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever you guys listen to podcasts on. We have that all available in our Instagram bio in the link. And our Instagram is at down.to-the-wire. So go give us a follow on there as well. Today we talked about the New England Patriots struggles as they fall to 1-5, and probably after the next two games, potentially 1-7. It doesn't look like it's going to get any better. So I would say that you at least have a 1-7 franchise going into what is it going to be? It would be their game against the Commanders. So I don't even know what's going to happen there. But then as you look forward, we also brought up the Boston Red Sox acquiring Craig Breslow, or, at least looking to acquire him. We talked about the MLB postseason with Philadelphia looking electric. And then we close things out with talking about the Celtics as they gear up for their regular season. Josh, really do appreciate you for coming on the show again, man. It's been a blast having you.
Hey, love it whenever you invite me, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. And from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Josh Houle.
And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care. Peace out.